Hi, good morning, everyone. Let's wait for a couple of minutes for everyone to join in. Is everyone in? I think most of the people are. Okay, so we will do a quick revision today about to cover the statistical part. Okay, I think a lot of you had queries regarding what can we do with this distribution, how can we transform this distribution, and should we transform or not is another question, right? So with transformations, so it's more to do with what kind of machine learning model we use. And when we cover machine learning, then we will be going and touching those points. So for example, if you are doing linear regression, linear regression expects a lot of its variables to be normally distributed. So in those cases, we'll provide, so for example, if a variable is following a exponential distribution, what we will do is we will transform it to a log so that the whole distribution becomes normal, the inverse of it, and then pass it to the model, right? Uh, but if we are working on some other machine learning models like SVM or random forest, as of now it will be Alienverse, but just assume these are some machine learning model which predict some output. Okay, now in those cases you might not need to do those transformations. So it will highly depend on the kind of architecture we are choosing for our machine learning project. Okay. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll try to also understand the kind of importance of, kurtosis, right? I think a lot of us, skewness is still, understandable, right, to a lot of us, but kurtosis is something probably with respect to business, I think most of us are not clear, right? So let me quickly share my screen. Start from where we left. Okay. So I'll just draw two distributions out here. Okay. Now, so you all remember what is kurtosis, right? Just by the definition for now. Anyone who doesn't remember? It just defines nothing but peakedness of a distribution, or you can define what is the distribution of tails, right? Tails is nothing but the endpoints, right? So let's say now I have two distributions. One is, let me, okay, this is one, and another one is, right? Okay, now when I have plotted these two distributions, okay, this is nothing but my returns. So let's say I invest in stock X, okay, let's say cryptocurrency. How many of you are aware about cryptocurrencies? Anyone investing in cryptocurrencies also? Okay, so there's a very popular cryptocurrency these days named Dogecoin. Okay, let's say this is Dogecoin. This is not the distribution of it for now. And then let's say this is another particular cryptocurrency name Alpha. Okay, so now this is the distribution of these two. Just by looking at it, can, as an investor, okay, which particular uh, kind of cryptocurrency would you like to invest on and why? Just think through it. uh, One has this particular distribution, okay, this is nothing but returns, okay, right? Alpha, uh, but why? because it's normal. That's fine. I'll probably, if I am, well, normal is not the only reason to buy it. It is spreading with respect to time, right? So if you see, it has very extreme values. What does this extreme values tell us? That there can be high returns as well as there could be very low returns, very low returns because of these extreme observations. And these extreme observations are nothing but called tails of a distribution, right? So if my risk appetite is high, okay, so in terms of stocks and cryptocurrencies, we call something as, there are three parameters, SBR, okay. We'll cover S and B some other day in stocks, okay. R is your risk appetite, okay. Now, as an investor, everyone has a different risk appetite, right? If I am an investor who wants to have high risk, high return, I'll invest here, okay. If I'm an investor who wants low risk and decent return, I'll go with this, right? So if I have to check Kurtos's value in, the very similar thing. So Kurtos's actually represents this thing, right? Here my Kurtos's will be approximately equal to 3, which is nothing but for normal, right? In the other case, it will deviate from the normal. Fine. And then there is another type, probably, which is even more spread out than normal, right? This is like, for the set of low risk investor, this is the ideal one because the returns are very spread out, even more than what we have in normal distributions. So just have a look at this, absorb this. Okay. Is it fine with everyone? And guys, kurtosis, I mean, statistical concepts will be very much essential in interviews, okay, because they are asked about a lot, and they don't check whether you can implement these statistical concepts in Python or something. Basically, you should have this statistical thinking, okay. So focus on that, okay. Another thing that I wanted to talk to you before we start with all the revision of stats. Okay. So we'll cover a lot of things in stats today. Probably only a stats heavy session. Okay. And what I wanted to make you clear also was that what we have come up with is that every day we will be tracking how are the responses in the class, how are you people responding in the class, whosoever is working on assignments, whosoever is bringing the final results, okay. So not only just focusing only on the Python exam, but what is the class participation, how are you guys working on the assignments which are given, And based on that, we will be recommending you two different companies. Okay. See, so all of you got enrolled in this program, which, assures placement, right? That's true for everyone. Yes or no? So just have this thing very clear in mind, because what I saw in the Python sessions were that people were not trying it along along with the sessions, right? And after that, we had to, break it off. Now, what it will do is it will reduce the pace of the whole group, and also it will impact, the timelines we have for you to get placed, right? That's the end goal, right? So basically the placements won't be sent or given in a platter, right? You guys have to earn it. And when I say you guys have to earn it, you guys have to put in those efforts also, right? And uh, earlier we thought, I mean, that people will, put in efforts, everyone will put in efforts because they want to transition. They have taken the first step by enrolling in this program itself, right? That's the biggest step, obviously, by getting enrolled in any of those courses and, starting with the journey. Now that start is a good step, but then the final destination is even far. Okay. So put in those hours, put in those efforts, and based on that only we can recommend you guys to the company. Okay. So if you have doubt, because what you will do is after 3 4 months when these placements and everything starts, right? And when you don't get through placements, that's the time you will realize that, oh, there's a lot of things to be covered. I didn't do this, I don't do that. And then you will kind of blame that institute is like that, or we were not taught XYZ thing. So remember, in a class, you won't, I mean, if you have to cover even one topic, let's say if we go into kurtosis also, okay, kurtosis is such a big topic that even if I take 1 month, 2 month, just for the distribution of data, it will be less because there are lots of things. Right now, in kurtosis, there is something called excess kurtosis, right? And a lot of business uses, this as a measure, but they measure it by excess kurtosis. They don't use kurtosis, right? So there are lots and lots of things. Okay, for each of the things, what we want to know is that, okay, this is something which we have idea about. This is something which can be learned. So even if in an interview, let's say you are asked, probably, 5 machine learning methods, let's say, or 5 statistical methods. If you are asked about the sixth, you just have to tell me that you haven't worked on the sixth yet. Okay, but do you know these five? And since you know these five, learning sixth won't be difficult, right? But then those five you should know, right? So I think nothing more than you guys putting your effort daily, and I'll be accounting for it, right? And we will be having a say in which companies you are referred to, because not everyone will be suitable for every profile, right? That everyone gets, because everyone comes from a different background and a different experience. Okay. So for someone who he has come from a, technology background, okay, he should focus on a job which has a lot of data engineering into it. Okay, because that's will be his strong point where he can bargain, you know. And for those who are coming from commerce background, okay, they will have a stronghold in statistics, right? So they'll try to get those things. Okay. However, obviously during the course, if someone's is more focused towards Python and the engineering side of it, they can go there. Similarly, for tech people who are in technology, uh, who get inclined more towards statistics, will be able to go there. Okay, so based on your the feedback which I get from you in the class, how you are doing, the kind of assignments and everything you are doing, I will be able to assess you who is good in what and who needs coaching in what. Okay, and based on that we can together work so that all of you are to the best of the line, because the competition is increasing day by day. Okay, so focus a lot on the basic constructs. Okay, don't get boggled by big things. Fine. Does anyone have any doubt in this particular way of operation? And just please check if someone's name is not there in this list. Abhishek. Amit. Amit Sharma is there. I think Amit Sharma left, but okay. Anyone else? I think everyone else is there. Okay, cool. Any doubts, anyone, regarding placements, regarding any career also? Okay, I mean, your placement officers will be talking to you more about this, but just to let you know, uh, the kind of profiles and everything you will get, which places you are recommended to, and whether you are recommended at all or not will depend on how you are participating in classes, how you are um, doing well in your assignments. Okay, I mean, we have to go this route because what we saw, not from only this batch or particularly this thing, but from all over the other batches also, that people don't put in that effort that is required. Okay, so everyone now has a Kaggle account. So Kaggle is a very good example for real world data, Abhishek. Okay, and what I'll also do is I'll try to show you some snippets from the data, the kind of data we work on. Okay, so don't worry about it. Yes, Abhishek, tell me.
So actually, yesterday, me and my friend, like we have created a group and we are working together around 5 or 6 hours daily on a data. So we are taking a particular data set from the Kaggle and we are solving it. So yesterday we took a data which is a Howard prediction linear regression advanced technique was there in there was a competition regarding this.
How's
So
that?
now the issue is we have created a team, but we are not able to work together in the Kaggle. Like we are working individually in the Jupyter notebooks, and that's the way we are doing. But एक होता है ना sir कि we can work together on the same code. Is there something like that in the team जो बनाते हैं हम Kaggle के अंदर?
Usme you can't collaborate live. What they mean by collaborate in a team is that both of your scores will be counted as one. I mean, the best of your scores.
Okay, okay. I thought कि we'll be working live on something. Okay.
In order to do that, what you can do is there are other platforms. Okay. The one we also used. Okay. That's one where you can write together. You can write the code together and execute it. But those are very slow. I mean, and then if you use VS Code, okay, the VS Code has one plugin where you can share your code. Both of you can write the code again together. But again, there's no notebook format for it. Okay, so the best bet is to use Colab or any online editors.
And so just want to know
And
one
when
thing,
you're
like,
collaborating also, no, try this, that
Mhm.
both of you explore two different things and then kind of share that probably you look the data from this angle, he looked from the another angle.
Yeah, we are doing, yeah, yes, sir, we are doing in that way only. So just want to know one thing, the data which we are working on is having around 8 to 9 lakh rows. So when we are doing some kind of operation, the data, now it's taking some time in Jupyter. So how to resolve that?
So firstly, the 8 to 9 lakhs is very less. Okay. And typically your system might be having 4 GB of RAM, if I'm not wrong. At least 4 GB should be there, right?
It's having 12 actually. It's
Then
12 GB, sir.
then even it's bit. So probably the kind of operations that you are applying are not optimized. Okay.
Okay.
So firstly, let's say you are using,
So can you elaborate this?
yeah. So for example, instead of using this apply, okay, you are probably running through rows one by one because NumPy works like arrays, right? So let's say I have this array. This is nothing but array of roll numbers, let's say. If I have to add one way in Python is I iterate through each row and keep on adding one. Another is I just do a +1 using apply. Which one will be faster, right? The
Apply.
one,
Yeah.
the apply one. And even in the apply, there are ways where you can just read the row and then do. Then even apply will be slower.
Okay.
Okay, so just make sure you are doing that way. Once you have optimized, so there is something called Swifter. So what it does is, okay, and use it only when your apply function are optimized. Okay, so there is something called .swifter.apply. Just install it, and this is the, yeah. So instead of apply, you will have .swifter.apply. Okay. So what it will do is it will speed up all the operations which are there. Okay. This is one. There is another one called Dask, which is actually the best one in Python. But the easiest one is Swifter and the best one is Dask. Okay. So what it does is it does all the parallelization in NumPy, in Pandas, in any scikit-learn. So these are for advanced Python users, but I'll still recommend don't get boggled by this. I mean, it's very easy to get boggled because you coming from a technology background, right? We will want to explore the speed and all those. I mean, we all have that, inclination towards it. And it's very easy to get kind of lost in this. Okay. So these are advanced concepts, but for now, if your applies itself is slow, just try to optimize the way you are applying the functions. Okay.
Yes.
For example, they say without lock, if you are just doing that square brackets wala subset, that is slower. Okay. And one thing that you can also do is install NV extensions. There is something called execute time. Okay. So I'll show you how it works. You know about this execute time or not?
Yes, sir. I worked on that also actually.
Okay. So what it does is like in the notebook itself, for example, it will give me this particular time so that I can measure. Okay. So for example, this particular command was executed in 18 milliseconds. Okay. So this also helps you aid. Okay. So just have these tools handy so that you have a check on the speed. But for now, don't focus much on the speed. Okay. These are, I
So how
mean,
to check memory after each and every step? Like,
so memory after each and every step. So there's
yeah,
something
so
called
that like,
edge stop if you do. Okay. That you can try it out. Okay.
so which
Uh,
one, sir?
edge stop, edge stop. Edge stop will help you know what kind of memory you are using. And then there is something called, you can install Jupyter Stats. Okay. Once you install Jupyter Stats, it will tell you exactly how each of your notebook is taking how much of memory. Okay. And when 9 lakh of data, it's not a memory issue.
नहीं सर, आई एम थिंकिंग इन दैट वे कि जब मैं नया वेरिएबल हम क्रिएटिंग ना, तो रादर देन क्रिएटिंग अ न्यू वेरिएबल, मैं उस पुराने वाले पे कुछ ऑपरेट करके बिना वेरिएबल क्रिएट करे वो चीज करूँ। इफ आई एम क्रिएटिंग अ वेरिएबल, तब मेरी मेमोरी कितनी एक्स्ट्रा यूज हो रही है, बिना उसकी कितना, वो मैं चेक करना चाह रहा था।
वो भी बहुत कम होती है बिकॉज द वे वी क्रिएट वेरिएबल्स एंड ऑल, ओके, वो शेयर्ड होता है काफी मेमोरी में, राइट?
ओके।
तो यू माइट हैव रेड अबाउट कि अगर सेम वैल्यू है तो बस पॉइंटर चेंज कर दो, इफ यू रिमेम्बर इन योर कंप्यूटर साइंस, right? Address is the same, it's just the the link which is pointing is different, right? So
ओके।
अंदर वो optimizations already हैं. So if I create hundreds of variables, you won't find a big change. However, if you are creating hundreds of data frames and each of these data frames have billions of values, okay, then it might be okay. वो भी नहीं होता है क्योंकि हम shallow copy बनाते हैं. So when you do dot copy या फिर when you do assignment, those are shallow copies. So even that won't affect. Just that जब तुम read करते हो ना data set, क्योंकि data frames are so much optimized, or numpy arrays or list, these are so much optimized that in terms of taking memory, this is very minimal. The only memory part you will see will be with when you are reading in the data. For example, you are reading a data of billion records. Okay. That time it will take some memory, but once it's in data frame, the operations and everything will be faster. Even if you create 5 copies of that data frames, you won't find a significant difference in the memory consumption. कौन सा ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम यूज कर रहे हो?
सो विंडोज।
अच्छा. So if you want to have raw performance, move to Linux. Okay. In Linux, you can control all these things like edge stop and all are, I mean, functionalities are very easy to use. Either Linux or Mac OS, both. I mean, Linux is better, not even Mac OS. Why Mac OS? Because Mac OS is kind of based on Linux only in some ways in the architecture. But Windows is a bit crappy in these terms.
सर जस्ट वांट वन मोर थिंग कि अगर आपका मतलब कभी भी टाइम हो ना सर, मतलब हाफ एन आवर 1 आवर, तो एक बार सर आप प्लॉटली एंड जो ज्योग्राफिकल प्लॉट्स होते हैं ना, उसके ऊपर आई हैड फ्यू डाउट्स एक्चुअली।
ठीक है, ठीक है. I'll try to cover Plotly in one of the sessions. So in one of the project actually.
ओके। एंड
Okay.
सर जो ज्योग्राफिकल प्लॉट्स होते हैं ना सर, एक बार वो भी कवर कर लेना अगर इफ पॉसिबल।
Okay, 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 okay. Sure. Just a second, guys. Okay. Okay. For everyone else, Plotly is a library. Okay. Like Seaborn. But Plotly is like, firstly, it's very memory intensive. Okay. It has very nice plots. Okay. And the plots are also, I mean, if you hover over them, okay, you will see the values coming up. Okay. So it's very good. I mean, very good library if you want to visualize things. So you have worked on Power BI, right? And Tableau also. Anyone has worked on Tableau? So, Abhishek, in case want to work on it, okay, in Tableau is a very good option.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry guys, I might have calls in between today. Okay. Okay. So we'll start from very basics. Okay. And for all those who haven't, revised statistics, this is a very good opportunity. Okay. So we'll start from very basic. And for a lot of you, it will be repetitive, but that's fine. Okay. So before we start with statistics, there's something called population and there is something called sample. So what is a sample? Can everyone else help me out? Small size of the population. Okay. So let's say, so we'll go by all the definitions that you guys tell. So let's say this is a population. Okay. Probably here a lot of, this is, let's say India, probably very bad state. There are few people staying here. A lot of people are staying here. And okay, even a lot here. And then only 1, 2 here. Okay. Right. So if I go by the first definition, small size of population. So I just go and pick these two and will that be a sample? Yes or no? It will be a sample. It won't be representative, but it's still a sample, right? So on one side, we have something called population. On the other side, we have something called sample. Okay. Population is nothing but everything when we consider everything in together, and sample is nothing when we consider a proportion of it, right? Why do we need samples and what are statistics to begin with? Let's start. What is statistics actually? Can anyone help me define, why do we need statistics to begin with? Why are we studying it in machine learning is the second question. Okay. And what is the importance of it? We just saw one importance, kurtosis may help some investor decide which stock is riskier, right? But then why do we need statistics in general and what is statistics? So that we can predict from a source. Yeah, I mean, statistics covers both population as well as sample. So for example, if the best, way to visualize statistics is nothing. So I'll go to one website, covidindia.org. Okay. what all these whatever numbers I'm seeing, okay, right? This is nothing but a statistic. This number 30 crores, 37 lakhs, 50,000, 77 people tested. Okay. This is also a stat. So it's not based on a sample, right? It's based on all the population of India, right? Assuming this data is correct. Always, that's the star part of it. So Chaitanya has correctly laid it out. Collecting, organizing, interpretation, and presentation. So basically, when we collect the data, we analyze it, we interpret it, and finally present this information in some usable format that is nothing called statistics. For example, right now, just by looking at this particular page, I could see that these are the number of people who have been tested in India till now, right? Now, you can debate this is a duplicate and all that. Let's assume this is a corrected version of it. Okay, because that's why this particular website has also mentioned as per the source. Correct. So statistics is the science which collects, organize, interpret, and finally present the information in such a way that we can interpret it. So for example, if we are given the average salary in India is 10,000 rupees. Now this is giving me, this is considering all the people in India who are working, okay, in some salaried form or not, okay. The average of those, all those people, the average of salaries of those people is 10,000, okay. Probably for some another country, it's 20,000. And I can compare the two and I can know that probably in India, it's the average salary is less, right? Correct. Cool. So now there are some striking difference between a population and a sample, right? So whatever we do and compare in a sample is called nothing but a parameter. Okay. Whatever we do it in a sample, we called it as statistic. Okay. Before we go here, why do we need samples? Why does anyone need sample actually? So we talked about samples, okay, and these are very important, like very, very important in stats, okay. So till now, whatever descriptive stats we have covered, it's about population mostly, right? We covered only population, right? Those are the descriptive stats, right? But why do we need sample? And then we will come to why do we need a representative sample, okay? Because it's hard to work on the whole population, right? To save costs, to save time, right? Obviously, and to save resources. So for example, I have to check whether, you know, the iPhone manufactured in a factory is good or not. Okay, so recently iPhone came up with their new line, iPhone 12, and they claimed that it's 40% more drop resistive, right? If any one of you follows Apple or any brand for that matter. Just a second. Sorry. Yeah. So iPhone recently came up with a claim that their phone are 40% more, drop resistant. Now, do you think they have checked for every phone that is manufactured in their factory? Do you think they will check it? No, right? They'll always pick some samples, probably one sample from their China factory, one sample from their probably I think California also has one factory, probably there, right? Few samples from both of the factories and checked how, you know, good the drop resistance is, right? So that's why sample is nothing but a subset of a population, but we call a sample always as a representative subset of a population. Okay, so one way to define sample was the way we did that, you know, just pick any random values from population, okay, probably from one region or another. That's a sample. So that's a sample, but in terms of statistics, whenever anyone asks you, okay, always have this definition that a sample is nothing but a representative subset of a population. Okay, so when I was doing this, I was picking people from just here. I went here and picked it. So I am doing a biasing. This is not a good way of sampling, right? I'm going here purposefully and picking it. If I would have closed my eyes and you know, picked anyone, then it would have been a sample and probably it would have been a representative sample. But if I am purposely going here and picking this, then that's not a representative way to do sampling. Okay, cool. So whenever you are measuring something in a sample versus in population, there is a slight difference between the two. Okay. So what we do in stats in general is that we'll cover, we'll read about the statistics and interpret the parameter for it. Okay. So for example, mean, let's say, what is the mean resistance? Let's say I'm measuring resistance. Resistance is nothing but will the iPhone break or not? So if I have to study mean resistance, what I'll do is I'll pick a sample, okay, study what is the mean resistance, and then do an interpretation that how will the mean representation look on the full population. For example, same iPhone case. I tested on 10 iPhones. Okay, what I found on those 10 iPhones, let's say the resistance values were, let's say it's between scale of 1 to 10. Okay, 10 being the good. Okay, I mean the best one being the poorest. Okay, and the values are something like this. One phone had 5, one had 8, one had 4, one had 7, another one had 6. Okay, and so on. Okay, now based on this 10, the average value came up around 6.5. Okay, can I say that all my iPhones have the resistance of 6.5? Yes or no? On a sample of 10, on an average, I got a resistance of 6.5. Can I say the same thing for all? And I want answer from everyone. Somewhere close to it, and someone mentioned plus minus 1. So what is this plus minus 1 or somewhere close to it? This is nothing but my margin of error. This is nothing but my error. Right? Not sure. Why, Abhishek? So what I did was on a sample, okay, let's try to understand this. On a sample of 10 phones, my average value was 6.5. Okay. And let's say the whole lot or the whole set of iPhones were nothing but 1000. Okay. So based on this was the average value. Okay. I said that 6.5 will be the average resistance of all the phones that are being produced. Is it valid or not? No, right? There will be always be this star conditions, right? This star is nothing but my margin of error. So we define it in stats, that is defined as nothing but ME, margin of error. Okay, and we'll study a lot about this. This is like quite an important topic in stats, and we'll see how do we read about it. Okay, in probably next half or today or tomorrow. Okay. So what we now know of that from population, we extract a sample. Okay. From population, we extract a sample. On sample, we perform nothing but statistics, and that's nothing but called also statistic. And from the statistics, we try to interpret the population, and population has nothing but a parameter, right? Are we all here till now? So from population, we extract a sample. On sample, we calculate some statistic. Using this statistics, we try to get assumptions about a population's parameter. Okay. So for example, mean, let's say average salary of of India. So I'm not going to every 140 crore people, right? And firstly asking, are you working or not? If you are working, what is your salary? Right? I'm not doing that. If I would have been doing that, that's nothing but my average salary, which is nothing but mean salary, right, of India. But what I do is I go with a subset of people. Okay. I try to predict what's the average of that sample, which is again nothing but mean. And using that, I try to interpret, okay, what will be the mean salary of India? Okay. Is everyone with me till here? Yes, no. And especially for you, Abhishek. And there was one more guy, Yatin. Yatin, you joined yesterday only. What's your background? Are you from a stats? Are you from a commerce background or a non-medical background? Commerce. Acha, then you might be clear with all this. Who is from a technology background? I mean, from BTech. I know one person. Anyone else also? Samrad, Rajneesh, Sahil. Oh, a lot of you are. Great. So for tech, people who are coming from any of the technology or BC or BTech, right? This is very important for you, and this will be a new construct for you. Okay, so focus and invest a lot of your energy on this. The way, I mean, the time you might have given to Python and learning all those things, pay equal amount of time to this. Okay, because these are very important things, and these are asked in interviews, and even these are used practically. Okay, so like when we hire, okay, so in case for those who don't know, I work for a company named VoiceZen. Okay, so VoiceZen is a startup, and it's been 3 years, and I'm one of the founders for that particular startup. Uh, we when we hire data scientists in general, so we hire two profiles. One is a ML engineer or a AI engineer. Then we hire data scientist. Okay, so when we hire data scientist, to be specific, okay, what we look for is that its hold on stats should be very good, even if it's hold on Python or any programming is bit less. Okay, but a very good hold on stats is very important. And when I say very good hold, basically who understands the stats. Okay, not just the definitions of it. And the one who understands the stats, he should be very good with as basic things like understanding variables. Okay, so let's start with variables. Okay, again, more of a revision. Okay, so variables are categorized into two. One is nothing but are quantitative. Another one is qualitative. What is quantitative? What is qualitative? Quickly. And I want answers from all the people who are not from commerce background. Not continuous. So 1, 2, 3 is not continuous, right? But still quantitative. So quantitative is anything that you can count, you can add or subtract. Okay. So as simple as count, add, subtract, right? It can be continuous, it can be discrete. So we have two sub classification. What is continuous? One is discrete. Okay. For qualitative is nothing but anything which has category. Right. Yes. Measurable values is again one more. So measurable values is kind of buggy. Why I'll say is I can measure my emotions. Let's say I can measure sentiment, and sentiment has value 1, 2, 3, or maybe I can measure this thing. What are the reviews for the movies? Probably you're giving from 1 to 5. That is measurable, right? But then that's not quantifiable. I cannot count. I cannot add ratings of two movie and come up with the rating for the third movie, right? So it's not quantitative. Okay, so yeah, someone was asking something, sorry.
So I was asking the same thing actually कि अगर 1 2 3 and 5 में हमने like जब हम वो करते हैं डमीज क्रिएट करते हैं तो उस टाइम में क्या करेंगे so related I got my answer.
Cool. So the other part is the qualitative variables, which is nothing but categorical. And in categorical, we have two things called nominal and ordinal. Okay, what is nominal and what is ordinal? Quickly, everyone. Just naam mein hai yaar, nominal and ordinal. Anything that can be ordered is nothing but ordinal, right? For example, let's say you have those reviews, right? Whether this tutorial was helpful, very helpful, not helpful, least helpful, or extremely helpful. You have these values, right? So there's some order to it. Or maybe as simple as class rank. first rank, second rank, third rank on Kaggle probably, right? Roll number, zip code are all nominal. Exactly. Okay. So with roll number, there is one good example. So ranks again 1 to 3 are ordinal. Roll number 1 to 3 are not ordinal. Why? Because I can't do any comparison that roll number 1 is, maybe more intelligent than roll number 2. Let's say for some class, maybe in some school, I don't know if it is practiced, but let's say in some school it is practiced that people will be sorted by their marks and given roll numbers. In that particular case, and in only that particular case, it will be treated as ordinal. Okay, but in general, roll numbers are nominal. Again, with same with the zip codes. Okay, so if there is no particular order, that's nothing but nominal. Okay. Now, for quantitative data, we had discrete continuous. Inside continuous also, we have two categories, okay, which is nothing but your interval and the other one is ratio. Okay. So what is the difference between the two? So whenever you are starting with any of your analysis, just remember this chart and probably have this chart uh, in your notes also. See, when you're attending these stats classes, make sure you're making notes because uh, in terms of theory, it's very less, which we'll be covering for data science, right? And if you have those things available with you, you can use in your machine learning and everything. Okay, so interval where zero is not considered. Is everyone, does everyone agree with what Chaitanya has said? Okay, so with interval, so let's say I'm asking about something like temperature. What is temperature? Is it a interval or is a ratio? Firstly, temperature measurement is a quantitative variable or not? Right. We all agree. Then why interval? Because zero makes sense, right? Or it doesn't make sense. So if I say 0 degrees Celsius, that doesn't mean that temperature is absent. It actually has a significance, right? However, if I am saying I have 0 rupees in my account, that's nothing but a ratio where 0 makes sense, right? Because if I'm saying 0, it means that I don't have anything. Okay, quickly. Are we all good till here? I mean, very basic things. Okay. So, so we all know what are pie charts. Can anyone tell me, this is, let's say this is a pie chart and I have something called bar plots, okay, or bar graphs, whatever you can say. This particular data pie chart representation is used for which types of variable? Pie chart is used for which types of variable? categorical, Amit. How can I use it for continuous variables, right? So if I have a category A, B, C, I'll use pie chart. Similarly, bar plots, category A, B, C, I can probably draw it in this format also. Nothing called bar chart, bar plots, right? So all these are used for nothing but our categorical data. Okay, and one common thing which we use for our numerical data is nothing but histograms, right? So if you don't remember anything what to use for numerically, use histogram, use box plots, okay, scatter plots. So stick with one library, okay, either matplotlib or seaborn, whatever you want to use. Okay, make sure you know at least these 3-4 things, and whenever there you are working on a new data, just plot these things. Okay. Acha. So there is a data point called 50, let's say. I have histogram. The histogram has buckets of 10. Okay, so the values are something like 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, and let's say 60 plus, and this is less than 20. So where do you think 50 will lie on in all these buckets? Where will be 50 in all these buckets? So we all know what is histogram. I haven't covered it. Okay, so let's say you have a data. That data is converted into these buckets. And for each of these buckets, we draw this particular line. Like, for example, this is 20, 30, 40, 50. So we'll have buckets like these. Okay, things like that. For each 20 to 30, what is the range? 30 to 40, what is the range? Similarly, so on. Okay. 50 to 60, we all know, right? Okay. So it won't be in 40 to 50, it will always be into 50 to 60. Why? Whatever is the lower. So all these 20, 30, 40, 50, 50 is inclusive. Okay. These parts are exclusive. So we call this range as this 20. I think this is the representation. This is basically the values not inclusive of it. Okay. And if someone asks you how to calculate bar charts, we all know that, right? Okay. So if you are given two categorical variable, how will you compare it? So let's say I have category A, B, C, A, B, C. I have data like this. This is male, this is female, female, male, male, female. So I have to analyze these two variables. This is variable 1. This is variable 2. What can I use? We all have studied. Count plot. Okay. What will be the output of count plot? I mean, I'll bucket into more general category. So, something similar to value counts, you're saying, right? Two category, what is the, so for example, A and M, how many times are there? So we call this as nothing but as, in terms of statistics, it's called as cross tabulation. Okay. So pivot tables, group by, value counts, count plot, all these are nothing but a way to represent these things. Okay. In terms of quantitative variables, if you are given two continuous variable, what will you use? Box plot, two continuous variable, two continuous. I have to analyze both of them. So let's say, okay, age. See, box plot are used if I want to analyze this variable in solos. I want to analyze these together. So 10, 20, 22, 30. 30, 34 salaries, let's say 50,000, 10,000, 20K, 15K, or let's say whatever. I want to analyze this data. How can I use histogram? I want to do both. Scatter is the answer, right? On one variable, you take age, one takes salary, and plot these points. For example, 10, 50,000, maybe this point is here. 20, 10,000, this point is here. So on. Maybe you will find things like that. Maybe. Or maybe anything like that. Okay. So just remember some of the basic, patterns that are there. Okay. Cool. Everyone with me? Quickly, what are the measures of central tendency? And what is central tendency? Mean, median, mode. Okay. What does, so central tendency is nothing but which captures the center, middle, and the group. Okay. So central is nothing but what? Mean. Middle is nothing but median, and group is nothing but mode. Okay. Fine. Now we all know what is mode, what is median, right? What is mean. Aja, can you quote me one example where you will prefer median as compared to mean? When out, no, give me a practical scenario. Categorical column. Actually, in categorical column, you will use mode in case you have to use. Why will you use median? So for categorical A, B, C, I don't have a median, right? When our data is skew, give me a practical example. So we all know that, median is more robust, right? Why it is more robust? Because why is median more robust? Because anyone can give me any example? Why median? Just complete this statement probably. Because extreme observations are, or I think Chaitanya already laid it out, it is not affected by outliers, right? And in machine learning or in any statistical modeling, outliers is a big issue. Okay. So if I talk in terms of, when you create statistical or machine learning models, outlier is the single most biggest problem. Then comes the missing values, and probably missing value will be the first in few cases. Okay. Missing value and outliers are the most things that we should look at. In synthetic data, it's easy to look at, but in other data, it's difficult to look at. That's the whole issue of it. Average salary of a country. Okay. Like placement record when they are using median. So as simple as salaries, right? If not salaries, then probably the price of the house in a locality. Okay. If you are looking at as average, you might not be able to, because some people might be selling it too high, some will be too low. So that's why we use median in those regards. Right, right. I think a lot of you gave exact examples for it. Yeah. Are there any disadvantages of median? What are, I mean, they should we not use? So whatever is the good part is actually the bad part of median also. Okay. In 99% of the cases, that bad part is ignored because that's not relevant. But in some parts, there might be. Just a second, guys. Okay. Even sometimes extreme values are important. So basically, the disadvantages of median is that it doesn't take in all the informations at times. Okay. So basically, when we say what we also call it as that, the kind of measurement that we are using, or for example, salary in that case. So one salary, a salary A is greater than salary B, right? So whenever there is an order, then it makes sense. Okay. When I say order, not the ordinal data. Okay. When I say order, what I mean is the ordinal measurement. Okay, so whenever we have these ordinal measurement, then it makes sense. But for all other cases, it won't make sense. Right. Good. So there is just a small difference in notations when we do it for a sample versus for a population. Okay. And this is very important when you read any status. I mean, anything related to stats. So mean is represented by mu as in population. In statistics is nothing but when we are calculating an on sample, it's represented with X bar. Okay. So we have something called proportion also, which we will cover. In stats, it is represented by P hat. Okay. Variance is sigma square. This is S square. Okay. Standard deviation is sigma, and standard deviation for a population is S. Okay. always the population is represented with a capital N and stats is represented with a small n. Okay, just have these things noted somewhere so that you understand whenever you are solving any stats problem, you should know if n is given or n is given. Fine. What is the second one? Proportion. We'll cover proportion. Might have heard about it. Chaitanya, you too might have learned about it. If not, that's fine. Okay. What is percentile? We'll cover proportion, don't worry. What is percentile? Everyone. So guys, can we also have a class in evening? Is everyone okay with it? I mean, for a few days. I mean, just because I have to travel back and forth to hospital. So if we can cover some part in morning, some part in evening, will everyone be fine with it? Just for a couple of days. I mean, till the situation is better, because I want to continue the course so that, you know, you guys are in line. We all can decide on time. I mean, my schedule is open. We can have it around 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, anytime. So in total, there is a 3-hour class. What I am thinking is, so let's say we had 1.5 hour right now, and probably let's have the other half in evening today. Not between 7 to 9, that's fine. We can have it around 5, maybe 4 or 5. Is it fine with everyone? Everyone is there on the WhatsApp group, right? Everyone who is okay. Abhishek, you are not. Who is the admin? Akansh, you are the admin. Na? Add it. Add everyone. Or let me share that link here. Just a second. I'll share the link also. Probably. Cool. Make sure everyone is there. Okay. So that we can decide on times. Probably 4:30 we will have. Okay. So what is percentile? We'll quickly cover a few things. So percentile, okay. There is something called percentile deciles, and again, you will use deciles a lot in machine learning. Okay. So there's something called percentile, quartiles, deciles. Okay. There are many more. Okay. So percentile does nothing but divide the data into 100 parts. And lot of people, don't know this. I mean, that's sad because I ask in interviews and people don't know what is percentile. They'll tell me 50 percentile means this, median. 10 percentile means 10% of the data is less, 90% of data is more than that point. But what exactly is percentile? Percentile is nothing. When you divide the data into 100 parts, each part is a percentile. Okay. So we have values from 1 to 100 here, right? Quartile dividing the data into 4 parts. Decile dividing the data into 10 parts. So whenever you are converting a data from continuous, in machine learning we'll revisit this, but just letting you know, once you convert it from continuous to categorical, many a times in many of the machine learning competitions on Kaggle and elsewhere, you'll find people using this a lot. This is used a lot. They convert the continuous data into deciles, apply either, I mean, then treat that variable as a categorical variable. There are different methods to do that, but yeah. Okay. So percentile, everyone clear? Quartiles, yeah.
So I was working on a data last night. So उसमें percentile and quantile पे I was working. तो मैंने जब निकाल के देखा for range particular मैंने numpy में range बनाई थी 1 to 100. तो answer was same for both. तो I was little bit confused कि answer क्यों same आ रहा है दोनों के लिए.
Answer in the sense?
If I am taking quantile 0.25 and the percentile of 0.25, so both will be the same.
So it could be there because your data is such a way, right? So अगर मेरा data का distribution ही वैसे है, let's say kurtosis ज़्यादा था उस case में, तो my 10th percentile, 25th percentile can be very close to each other.
Okay.
Right? Because we are dividing the data into 104 parts. If everything is one, let's say half of your data is one, half of your data is twos, right? So your 10, 20, 30 percentile will all be one, right?
सर एक बार फिर से तीनों एक बार फिर से समझाना एक बार थोड़ा सा मतलब.
Okay. So what we'll do is let me tell you the formula for calculating percentiles first, and then we will calculate it and see. Okay. So the formula for calculating percentile is nothing but I is equal to P upon 100. Okay, n to n. Anyone remembers this? P is nothing but the percentile, n is the number in the data, and I is the location that we get. Okay. Anyone remembers this or not? Okay. If I is an integer, okay, it's nothing but the average value of I and I plus 1. If it's not a whole number, I mean, if it's a whole number, then it's average between I and I plus 1, else I plus 1 is the value. Okay. So can everyone quickly calculate 30th percentile of this given data? 14, 12, and you have to sort the data. 19, 23, 5, 13, 28, and 17. Can everyone do this quickly? Do it manually, don't use Python. Extreme answers. One says 38.4, one says 13. Two people says 13. Just to let you know, the answer is 13 only. But how come Abhishek it's 38.4? So let's see how we calculate it quickly. Let's sort it out. Just a second. Yeah. Firstly, let's sort it this data, right? 5, 12, 13, 14, 17, 19, 23, 28. Okay. Now, the second step was adding it to the formula. We had to calculate the 30th percentile. So P is 30 upon 100 into N is what out here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 numbers. So this is nothing but 2.4. Okay. 240, 240 upon 100, 2.4. So this is not a whole number. Okay. This is nothing but 2.4 plus 1, which is nothing but 3.4. That means the third position. So third position is nothing but 13. Okay. For everyone who didn't got 13, is this fine? How we calculate percentiles? Yes, no. Fine. Abhishek. Abhishek, I think Manav was correct. Abhishek was not correct. So the formula said that if this is the location, there cannot be 3.4 location. So what I said was, if this is a whole number, so let's say this I would have come to be 2, then the median will be an average between 2 and the 3 position. So 12 and 13 in that case. If the I came out to not to be a whole number, 2.4 in this case, then it's nothing but I plus 1 position, which is nothing but 2.4 plus 1, which is 3.4. And obviously there is nothing, no position called 3.4. So it's the third position. Okay. Even if it would have been 3.5, 3.6, right? You will still consider only the 3 part of it. Okay. That's how the formula is. I mean, basic work. Now, let's say if I had a data like this, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2. Okay, let's create this data and find it out by ourselves. So I have data 1, 1, 3, 1, 0.5 maybe, 1, 3. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'll have one more value, 10. Okay, so I have this particular data with me. Can anyone help me find the percentile 10th, 20th, 50th, and 25th? Instead of 20, let's do 25th. Can everyone do it quickly? Find these values and tell me, are any of these values same or not? So 25th and 50th are probably kind of same. 10th is 0.75. Yeah. So it could be there, right? 25th, 50th, all these value could be there same. What it tells me is the kind of distribution of the data, right? Probably the distribution is either skewed or something, right? Because of which this particular thing is happening. Okay, fine. Then we have few things for measures of variability. If I have to ask someone how variable something is, then I'll use things like range. Range is nothing but max minus min. Then there is one more measure called IQR. So this is nothing but 75th percentile minus 25th percentile, or third quartile minus first quartile. Which of the two do you think is prone to outliers or affected by outliers? Range, because we are considering max minus min. Okay, so again, one more intuition when you are working on data that there are outliers or not, just check for these values. If there is a huge difference between range and IQR, you get to know. Fine. Okay, so there's another term called deviations. Okay, and we have covered all this. Just a revisions is happening till now. Okay, so deviation. Okay, deviation is nothing. So let's say I have a value. This is my mean. Let's say my mean is 10. So how far I am from mean? Some values are, let's say, on the positive side. Let's say this is plus 30. कुछ values यहाँ पे हैं -30. कुछ values यहाँ पे हैं. So how far I am from mean? If I have to calculate, it's just done with nothing called deviations. Okay. So yes, we can use range coefficients also. What will be the sum of deviation, okay, for this particular data? So I have a data, okay, 1, 2, 3. So basically first n natural numbers, okay, 1, 1, 2, and up to 10, okay. Firstly, tell me the what is the mean, okay. Then tell me what is the sum of deviations from the mean. Can anyone quickly calculate? Okay. This question should take you hardly 1 or 2 seconds to solve. Not even a second. Quickly, everyone. Sum of deviations from mean क्या होगा? Amit already gave mean value. Now तो you should all should be able to get. Okay. How many of you calculated it and then got the answer? Do you really need to calculate? right? It will always be 0. Okay. So whenever you have this question, this is a tricky question as in interviews and tests, right? We should all know that. Okay. So when you do this similar thing and you move it to variance, okay. So you can use variance also as a measure of, you know, uh, measure of variability. Okay. There's one more measure to it. So we have two more measures called, one is mean absolute deviation, which is nothing but sum of, this is nothing but mean. Okay. This is nothing but mean average deviation. Very similar to what we already have, which is nothing but a mean. Okay. So here we do an average of deviations rather than doing an average on, rather doing an average. Okay. Similarly, we do a variance, which is nothing but sigma square given xi minus mu square by n. Okay. Cool. And these are very much used in, you know, in terms of forecasting. Okay. Cool. So we have covered, we all know standard deviation, we all know population variance versus standard deviation. Any doubt till here? Cool. N minus 1 is there in case of sample variance. Yes. So what happens is when we calculate, and that one n minus 1 is an interesting story of degrees of freedom, which we will cover. Okay, so thought for the day. Okay, and we'll stop here and we'll continue in the evening. Read about degree of freedom. Okay, and then let's discuss it around 4 or 5. Okay, I'll be heading back to hospital right now. Okay, so let's have a session and let's continue the session in evening. Okay, and just a matter of few days. I mean, hopefully things get better. Uh, till that, let's continue with the sessions like these. Okay. And if anyone has any issues regarding such way, let me know. Okay. So we will sort that out. Okay. I just need your cooperation for few days. Fine. So read about degrees of freedom, read about coefficient of variation. Okay. And you all might be using it and I'll also list it out here. So one is degree of freedom. How is it important? Second is coefficient of variation and z-scores. These two will be very, very important. This is good to know from a stats perspective. Okay. And it's a very good construct. Okay. And then let's discuss it in the evening. Fine. People who are not good with stats, please focus a lot on understanding the theoretical part of it. Will be very good, very much required. So around 4, I'll confirm it on the WhatsApp group also. Okay. And we'll use the same link. Okay. Okay. Thanks everyone. Thank you.